this? Is this a manhunt? Is this a way of silencing, as quite a number of Nigerians are beginning to want to throw their weight behind, dissent voices, or silencing, the rights, the civil liberties law that we have, which is constitutionally based?
Uduak, a lot of drama is happening in the country. And like I always said, you see, in Nigeria, or the democracy we practice due to the kind of constitution that we have, there is no absolute human right. Even as enshrined in that section 42, which you quoted. The liberty laws, the freedom of speech, freedom of press, you can see over a period of time that government and administration past, even present one, have tried strenuously to gag the media, to also gag the civil society organizations. As an activist, somebody said we were first Nigerians before we became politicians, before we became, whatever, DSS, police, army, and whatever we are now. And to be honest, like I said, is a problem of constitutional misplacement. For any government to dare to shut down the activities of the labor union, or the president of the labor union to be detained or charged for treasonable felony, is really, really unbecoming. One, there are characteristics in the Constitution that gave absolute power to the labor union, the labor, to function independently, just like the judiciary.
Right.
The labor encapsulates all the facets of the labor forces in the country or in any nation. In the UK, for instance, they have their own political party, which is the Labour Party. So you see, trying to guard that force because they spoke out against the economic hardship, it is very, very wrong to even try to start in the first place. But I thank God that the DSS perhaps wants to follow the constitutional right by not detaining him above 24 hours as stipulated in the law. Because I could imagine the kind of crisis the DSS, due to this action of arresting the Labour president, could plunge us into. Imagine that total shutdown, where even electricity will be shut down, hospitals will be shut down, aviation industry will be shut down, all industries in the country will be shut down.
Right.
And that is another war, a kind of economic war against the masses who are already suffering and struggling with penury.
Right. From the place of the fact that there's been no warrants, even in that arrest,
Apart from warrants, the Nigerian security system,
right,
or apparatuses, particularly the Department of State Security Services, always wants to infringe on citizens' rights. And I think it is because they are answerable to the state directly. And that boils down again to the exclusive power in the Constitution for Mr. President and of Mr. President. If a president is too powerful or empowered by the Constitution that governs, which is the compass of the country, and empowers the president to that extent where rights and legalities could be jettisoned, then you know that you have a bad constitution. You know, we've been talking about this thing, but people don't take it seriously. The DSS will tell you they pick somebody without warrant. They can come to your house. They can deal with you, scrutinize you to get information out of you, even if that information is out of duress. They just want to get the information because they are answerable to the state. And there is no devolution of power within that constitution where the DSS will be answerable to the people and not to Mr. President or not to the state governors. So, the exclusive power of the executive in the tiers of government that we have in this country is alarming, as enshrining the constitution. And that is why people are clamoring that, look, let's review this constitution. A president of Nigeria is the most powerful world over.
Right.
In the world over, if you cross-check, even in American president is not as powerful as the Nigerian president from what we have in the constitution. It's just that I can't begin to quote them, but I've read those powers. And these are the exclusive powers that we are talking about. If not, without warrant, ordinarily, even a policeman should not come to your house, no matter the crime, without prior investigation and conclusion. Not arresting you first before investigating. They have to do their investigation, then go to the Attorney General or the Commissioner of Justice to get what we call state warrant of arrest before they can come to arrest you.
But what if the situation is more of a terrorism type of situation? Would you now go through all of these process because you want to make an arrest? I'm just saying.
There are lot of improprieties in the Constitution that are defined as treasonable felonies. Remember, a good lawyer will tell you it is not everything that is legal that could be right. And it is not everything that is right that could be legal. Take, for instance, the case of a wanted terrorist showing off on social media, TikTok, Facebook, everywhere, using digital telephones and gadgets, traceable telephones. I'm not talking about satellite digital phones, I'm talking about terrestrial digital phones. I can tell you that as an ICT expert that you can locate any terrorist that you want to locate in this Nigeria. How many of them have the DSS, the police, or the army have brought the book to book, have arrested? They are terrorizing the northeast, the northwest, everywhere, even the hinterland of the FCT. We see lawlessness, people gyrating, emboldened by what? Probably by religious sentiment and ideologies.
Right.
And then they are perpetrating wickedness. But these guys are out there, moving freely. I'm not looking down on the activities of the Nigerian security system. The armed forces, they are trying of a truth. But you see, priority should be positioned and focused on these guys who are trying to break down completely, or who are trying to form another government in a government. That's treasonable felony. I'm talking about those bandits, those terrorists, those ideologists that believe that the institutions of democracy that we have are harams and not good to be followed, and they have to follow religious dictates, religious philosophies and ideologies. These guys are the real people who are committing treasonable felonies, and not an NLC president who is trying to tell the government to look. I'm in the government too. say, look, let's do the right thing. The hardship is too much. Let's reduce fuel. Let's do this. Let's control prices of commodities and goods and services. Let's ensure minimum wage or living wage for the people. Let's please the government. Let's have this dialogue. Somebody that is seen is not hidden. It's moving and working and is officially recognized and internationally recognized as the president of the Nigerian labor force. Then you step further just because a protest broke out in the country against bad government, and then you think that such president or such labor union do not have the right to protest, or the citizen have no right to protest. I mean, it's unbecoming. I don't toe that line, and I will never support that kind of action of the DSS or the government.
Well, just to bring it to you very quickly, the fact that we're trying to still get with, Comrade Benson Upa, who happens to be the head of information and public affairs of the NLC, but he is not coming through at the moment. Well, anyways, let's just get conversational with this, and just to also give a little bit of background, to the conversation, the topical issue, and all of that. Ajaero was arrested without a warrant. It sparked outrage from the NLC, and the NLC described it as assault on Nigerian workers. He was later released, though, and the NLC is demanding an explanation for the arrest. And it goes back, to the typical situation that we find in Nigeria. Most of the time, many people are being taken out like that, and there is actually nothing really said as to why. And if you probe further as an investigative journalist, right, you would hear that this is a matter of top, priority and all of that. We cannot divulge this to you and all of that. Does it bring some concern to you?
Yes, because even the Freedom of Information Act signed under President Goodluck Jonathan, it's not being honored. It's like the country, even constitutional, judicial pronouncement and verdict have not been honored by politicians. A situation where the court will even look at the case of EFCC versus Ajaero and the rest. Have we not seen that even the EFCC have their selective fight against corruption in the country? Are people not being indicted? Ex-governors that we know, that their files are before EFCC, for instance. That the whole country even knows that these ones embezzled and stole misappropriated funds. They have not gone after those persons because they have political godfathers and affiliations to political parties and juggernauts in the country.
But the EFCC boss had come out to debunking such, saying that, well, it's not unstable. If it was unstable, he will handle it.
I saw some publications by the EFCC.
Right.
Placing some person's pictures. For instance, let me take a case of Bello. I know that they might have evidence also, but if you have evidence and the court of competent jurisdiction gave a verdict that, look, or an expert, don't do this, are you not supposed to obey? Why going for that to say you publish the picture of the person and then you place him under wanted, made him a fugitive of the law? That is against his fundamental human right. And so I am talking about the lawlessness of the institutions, and by the institutions of democracy that are supposed to maintain law and order. Examples are supposed to be carried out, exemplifications, by the people in power, by the institutions of democracy. If the institutions of democracy becomes the very institutions that breaks the law and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, then we are in a lawless situation.
So what can be done to ensuring that such things don't happen?
Because now cries all over the media for international solidarity, which the government again will begin to look at it as if it is a call for anarchy or a call to topple the government. Nobody is trying to topple the government or this administration. As a matter of fact, our idealisms are almost built on tribe, ethnicity, religion, we know that, okay, now it is the turn of the Southwest. Isn't it? According to what they said. The North have it, the South have it, and then in the South you say the Southeast, the Southwest, the South-South, and in the North you say the Northeast, the Northwest, or the North Central. So there is this arrangement which is not constitutional or philosophical, but it is a democratic arrangement that the federal government have been maintaining. So nobody is trying to topple the government. The people are saying that the hardship is too much. Even the big men in this country are feeling the hardship because of the removal of fuel subsidy, and because of the hike in price of fuel, and because of the inflation on goods and services. And if it is you wake up in the morning now, school have resumed, you can't send your children to school, school fees are hiked, even down to the primary schools. The public schools are not there. People take their children to private institutions that are very costly. And then the children of the big men, the elites in the society, are schooling not even in the country, abroad. And here, the labor force who are putting their strength, their energies, their time into productivity for the country to move forward are not able to send their children to school or feed 3 square meals in a day. You can see the kind of low-class lifestyles that Nigerian citizens have become. And not because of this administration. It began long ago. So, if they said end bad government did not start today.
Right.
So that they will say, we are criticizing the administration of President Tinubu. No! Bad government has become synonymous with the system that we practice in the country.
So flush out the system of what
That is why
what are you
we
saying?
said we have to overhaul, 1, the Constitution. 2, we have to strengthen our institutions. Number 1 institution that must be strengthened and be adhered to is the judiciary. It must be independent. 2, the second institution that must be strengthened and adhered to be viably independent, is the electoral umpire, because we are in a democracy.
Right.
And in a democracy where you do not have independent candidature to run an election and people must come through political parties, that institution must be strengthened and must be independent of any executive power. There should be internal mechanism to producing who heads the INEC, who heads the State Electoral Commission. In fact, State Electoral Commission should be abolished. Let us have the local government electoral commission that they are proposing in the Constitution.
So that you feel would put an end to some of these unsolicited
institutions
arrests
that should be strengthened,
yeah,
so that we will have a kind of law and order. Because injustices from these institutions are what is breathing and brewing the state of protest that we have in the country. Because the absence of peace is actually the absence of justice.
All right, the absence of peace is the absence of justice. But then quite a number of Nigerians are beginning to, wonder and maybe try to add 1 + 1 to make it 2 from the place of speculation that all of these arrests are not a mistake. They're very, very well focused, very well channeled and all of that. And that maybe we're losing our priorities and we're not getting it rightly. I mean, if you also recall that just recently we saw the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project calling out to the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to immediately direct the Department of State Services to end the intimidation, even the harassment, and attack against its organization and the threat of arrest against their directors. I'm talking about SERAP right there, saying that failure to do so would attract legal actions nationally and internationally.
Which legal action? Which court are you going? The Nigerian court? Are you going to the Supreme Court, or you are going to which court? This is what we are talking about. Are they independent? There are levels to which a judge in a state or in a federal high court may exercise his fundamental right too. Because he's appointed by a politician. And this is the mechanism I'm talking about, strengthening the judiciary, which is also an arm of government. The judiciary is not a kind of form of government, it's an arm of government of its own.
So I was going to ask, what would you, some are advising the NLC, even the Joe Ajaero himself, that it's high time you sued the DSS. And do you think that is the way forward?
If you sue the DSS, the president will come out and say he gave the directive, or blame it on one alibi and say it's a top presidential secret.
So it goes back to the system.
And it goes back to the Constitution. The American president can do that. That's what I'm telling you. See, we have to, I don't want to use the word tear down the Constitution. And this is one thing that made me to support this administration in a way, that they are looking into the Constitution and they are calling on public, because the president himself is an activist. And he has been on the street for more than 30, 35 years that I could count off. And as an activist, you see, they say, talk is cheap. It is when you come in that you know how the shoes feels in. When you wear the shoes of leadership, you should first of all know that one of the responsibilities that you must take as a leader is that everything is your fault. By the time you try to dodge away from responsibility or accepting your fault before the people, go into the media to accept your fault and tell the people this is why you are doing this is why, communicate to the people. Once you fail from doing that, then the people will begin to misunderstand the vision you have or the trajectory you have for the nation.
All right, there's one vision we don't want to miss out on, and that would be us going to pay some bills. When we come back, of course, the conversation will be on. This is Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja. We give you an audio-visual radio experience that you can count on, and the topical issue in discourse this morning is the Joe Ajaero arrest and release. We'll be right back.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
Hello, everyone. This is a special invitation to tune in to Eagles 102.3 FM for the Safe Sphere Connect program with Town Planner Ibrahim MT, the safety doctor. If you are looking for more information and guidance on the morality of life, health, safety, security, and the environment, then this is the show for you. Join us every Tuesday from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. for an hour of insightful discussions, expert interviews, and engaging segments that will keep you informed and safe. Don't miss out. Mark your calendars and make sure to tune in to Eagles 102.3 FM. Stay safe, stay informed, and connect with Safe Sphere Connect.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja. Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
My people, the thing where they happen for my area, eh?
Do you think I will now find out that you have contract to bring fresh girls?
I brought you from the gutters. Who gave you all the connects? MDG who? Without me, you would have been nobody. But
Join Media Coalition and Awareness to Halt Human Trafficking, MICAT, on I Wish I Knew radio drama every Saturday at 10 a.m. Let us join hands and kick human trafficking out of our communities. I Wish I Knew radio drama, brought to you by MICAT in partnership with the National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, and funded by the Embassy of Denmark in Nigeria.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
All right, conversation is still here. 33 minutes gone past the hour of 9. Quite a number of Nigerians are already talking and saying, hey, that for whatever is going on with Joe Ajaero, cannot be totally blamed on the DSS, that there will be no arrest if there was no reason for an arrest. And that might just be an intel that the DSS might have had. In fact, other Nigerians are saying that why would Joe Ajaero, at a time like this, that we are going through all of the toughest of times and challenges, want to step out of the country? Probably there is something that, he's trying to hide. There is something that he is running away from. And it comes in a time when that British, national here in Nigeria is being, an arrest, put out there for him to get him arrested as a result of his role that he played during the protest and all of that. And just at the heels of that, he's already wanting to make out of the country for an official assignment, as they put it.
Of course, you will be afraid even if it is you. There was a time in my own state that I came on air like this, or just on social media, and talked against the current government administration about balancing power equation in the state. And I was nearly being picked for saying certain things on air. And I said, no, it is within my right. I know the 17 broadcast ethics and etiquette. And I know where I should go and where I should not go. So probably Ajaero was a kind of afraid because of the protest that happened. Of course, the Nigerian Labour Congress, of course, were part of the protest. There's no hiding, no hiding it, because they speak for the masses. But he is a figure. He is a public figure. And what it means to be a public figure is that he speaks for the public masses. He represents the masses. So whatsoever he is doing and the DSS seems to be aware of is something that they should use low posture to addressing it and not worsening it with hard posture. Even if you have absolute power, sometimes you use absolute power in a hard posture, you can break down the system, the law and order completely because of public outcries. And that is why, in the wisdom of leadership, there are things that peace and sitting down on a round table could take, negotiation, more than what your force, your absolute power could take. If you use force in the case of Ajaero, for instance, who is speaking for, the masses have assumed that he's speaking for them, no matter what you know as a DSS. The masses have assumed that he is their president. As against what you know, the information that pushed you to pick him, or probably to intimidate him, so that he will not further partake in any plan or planned protest or whatsoever. But if you do not use wisdom, it's like pouring petrol into fire that Nigerians are already passing through. So, if I were the president or the DSS,
Right.
I would not come out with hard postures against Nigerians right now.
Even if my intel is concrete on the person it is.
If your intel is concrete, you have been empowered with all powers, with all enablement, whether militarily, whether civility, whether in terms of weapon or whatever, information, you have been empowered with tech to thwart that already. So, thank God they released him, like I said.
Right.
Had it been he kept there for more than 24 hours, and senior advocates and the Nigerian lawyers begin to speak, Nigerian Bar Association begin to speak, different trade unions begin to come out, and there is a shutdown in the country, don't you think it will lead to a state of chaos and anarchy?
All right, well, let's just open the phone
Then
lines.
number 3,
Yeah.
before you open the phone line, like I said, the vision of this administration are germane and good because of what the Nigerian Senate and the Nigerian House of Representatives are doing. Talking about taking information as the kind of feedback from the masses to reform or review or overhaul the Constitution. They should prioritize their priorities on these things now, and also prioritize their priorities as itinerary for the inflation that is happening, affecting goods and services right now in the country, so that there will be an amelioration for the people. There will be, the people can have a panacea of hope and come out of this quagmire of hungry that is affecting the masses. Because a hungry man is actually an angry man.
All right, on that note, of course, let's get out the numbers now. 0908-766-8888 is that number to call. The other number, being the WhatsApp portal number, would be 0909-705-4450. Taking this call right now. Hello and good morning. Hello? Hello? Right. That is a miss. Do well to follow across social media platforms, as we have a strong presence out there on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as well as the YouTube, channel. Subscribe, give us a like, give us a follow, and you'll be glad you did. We're still talking on the arrest and release of the NLC president, Ajaero. And yes, we'll get this call. Hello and good morning.
Hello, good morning. Who's that?
BB,
My name is How
BB
are
Blessing.
you?
Welcome, I'm fine. Thank you, BB. Feels good to hear your voice again.
Hey, I knew it. I said, this new play where our president buy. You go, they follow at the travel. But I don't know, say you go still remember us. I greet
BB.
our guests. My name is BB Blessing.
Right.
I greet our caller, even they hear my voice. I'm busy doing my chop one, chop two. Because we waiting our time for this radio to talk, to know say whether our president they go listen for us. I know say they are no listening.
BB, no, don't talk like that.
Okay, they are listening.
When we
They
are not
are
wasting our
listening.
time. We're not wasting our time.
No, what do you want me we do? Look
Yeah.
at poor people, they are crying. They are
Understood.
crying. We are busy making call every day, burning our recharge card every day to
Right.
listen for us. Okay, if you say they are listening for us, look at fuel price now. How much are we paid by Rita? Liter is 100 naira now. No become a protest when we come out to peace, to good, to change, to betterment of the youth. They no green listen for us, and they are busy arrest our labor man. What he do? DSS, people get mad to arrest the man yesterday when he go your assignment. What did they say he do? They say nice support protest when he come and the day after him now. They don't know what to do. During the time of Adamo Shomori, who should do that no fair? No, see, I know the people where government see finish. If you want to talk the truth, they go there after you. We not say the man not do anything. He day right. Why they release her? They for not release her. They for see our back color. You know anger of if you person they hungry. Anger. Now they for see today. But thank God they don't release him. But what I want to tell president, a day will come, you know go see people where they go start by him to tell her the truth. That is why we are bossing our voice to president to listen for us. But he's not there for Nigeria. He busy go to the Chinese place. And Chinese place, they are whipping our money to go their press. Look at that go to the refinery. If we just go to do the refinery today, how much we go take buy? And not be me and you will go direct, go buy and go to the fuel. Now the NLC go still go there, go buy. And how much they say they want to sell for Nigeria, now they go take sell for us. What will we do for president? Please, make they do the needful. We are begging them. We're not supposed to beg them because it's our right.
Exactly.
Come on, man, they are crying. I greet our guests for the studio there. God will bless you for start by us, for say the truth. We not even get lawyer again for Nigeria. If you do Nigeria, go report them now. They not go judge the matter well. Now that they don't use money, bribe all our lawyers. God will bless you. Bye-bye.
All right, BB, it's been nice hearing from you. I mean, quite a number of us have been worried, and it's great to know that you are there and you are strong out there and, still staying, that vocal, woman that you are, and we appreciate it. Let's hear from yet another family member. Hello and good morning.
Good morning, my dear brother.
Good morning
This is
to you.
Salami from Central. Yes,
Yeah.
I greet our guest. I agree. Our judiciary might not be completely independent, but the question I would have loved to ask is: give me one country in the world, when it comes to issue of national security, that the government leave it in the hand of the judiciary. the U.S. that our guest, spoke about. We can see what is happening to the insurrectionists. Those who try, that force their way into the Capitol building in the U.S. We saw some of them are currently languishing behind bars. We saw what happened in Canada when the truck driver went on strike. And after, several negotiations, and the government gave them ultimatum. When it was, it was becoming, a threat to national security. We saw how the security of the Canadian government trooping and dealt in the language that they understand. Bringing it back home, the question I want to ask is, it seems we are now beginning to allow emotions, to becloud logic when we are talking of national security. When we are talking of national security, the first thing you should be concerned about as a Nigerian is, the threat should be treated as one before you even bring all sorts of propaganda. Like I always say, Nigeria must exist before we can even be talking about, because before we even, have the peace to talk about all of this non-existent conspiracy theory. In the case of Ajaero, unfortunately again, he's trying to, evade on the emotions of we the civil servant. Majority of us do not support him, by the way. We all know that it is a fight, it is a elitist fight. Ajaero is not fighting for any Nigerian. If he's fighting for Nigeria, I think we would have seen a better NLC under him. And what we should be talking about is, that allegation against him of sabotaging of our national security, and coincidentally, let me use it this way, suddenly, in the midst of the investigation, suddenly he had a function in the same UK, the country of the citizen that is accused of housing this, coup plotter in Nigeria. If we are not looking at this, as a concerned and patriotic citizen of Nigeria,
okay, Alamin.
Then what are we trying to say? What exactly are we saying?
Right.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Alamin, right there. Alamin has raised some points, in his
Let
submission.
me first of all say that as a patriotic Nigerian, I would never support any idea, any attempt, any insinuation that would thwart the democratic dispensation that we are enjoying, or administration. I would rather, as a patriot, support that all institutions be strengthened against any loopholes such as this. In a country, you are talking about patriotism. Good and fine. In a country where bandits, well-recognized terrorists are kidnapping people, massively killing people, even daring to invade the Nigerian armed forces that are empowered by law to protect the sovereignty and preserve the sovereignty of the country. You have some sects of people who are thwarting, killing them, bombing their vehicles, dancing on top of their graves, even showing them on social media. Then you do not refer to that as treasonable, or go after them massively with all the forces you have. But you are talking about treasonable felony, even if it is right. I said it is not everything that is right that is legal, and it is not everything that is legal that is right. So you now bring in the wisdom of conscience, and then you begin to juxtapose and set your vision and itinerary right as a president, also as the law enforcement agency. Because if you do not do that, you are creating a dichotomy of disaffection where some people begin to say some people are above the law and others are below the law. Or the law is probably for the strong and the highest bidders. Before you talk of patriotism, you talk of justice. You talk of justice, just like before you talk about peace, you talk of justice. In the absence of justice, there will never, in anywhere in the world, be absolute peace. The law enforcement agency can try. Good. They have quizzled him. They have questioned him. Who knows how many more will go down on frivolous accusations and allegations. If you have proven those things, he does not have immunity. There are governors that have immunities, even past governors that still do not have immunities, who are found wanting as complicits of the banditry and terrorism that is happening in the country. How many of them have the DSS picked up?
Well, I'm glad you...
Even the court, the young man, I'm sorry, this agitation from the southeastern Nigeria. If you look at what they are saying, they are agitating for their own country for secession, which is also a constitutional right in the Constitution. It is not a violent secession per se. Now, if the court say release their man, for instance, who happens to been indicted at one time or be illegally picked from Kenya.
And remember, it was a prescribed.
It was prescribed.
Yes, please.
Their association or their group was prescribed. But there is a court of law also in Nigeria that said, bail him or free him. I get what I'm saying. Has it stopped the agitation as it's there in the prison or in the jail? There's another one they called somebody from Canada or whatever that is making hell of noise, creating problem for us from there, Republic of Ireland. I get what I'm saying. So these are the things you quell. There is a way you can negotiate. In the American security system or Europe or even in Ghana or in Burkina Faso, in Niger, there is a negotiating table. You give and take. Even the Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency, there are drug law they negotiate with. Okay, you surrender, you give us this thing, you give us these persons, you give us this thing, you understand? We give you your freedom. There are things like that you can negotiate on table. Not everything you take with hard posture. You could ruin everything by the hard posture.
In fact, some talking about being complicit. Some Nigerians already saying that, look, if they believe or allegedly believe that the NLC president could indeed be betting with the government. If he was not betting with the government, he may not be facing some of these challenges and all of that. And,
some people are even criticizing the NLC president that the Nigerian labor force are not functioning, they are not working.
Right. Well, that being said, let's just go into, the thought line of our family members via the WhatsApp portal. This one right here says, good morning, UD and your guest. Good morning. On the arrest of NLC president on terrorism charges, I am surprised that civil society groups such as Amnesty International, the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights, CDHR, have not condemned this government for systematic violation of human rights of Nigerians who dare to protest against its obnoxious policies. These groups were very active during the Buhari's regime to the extent of threatening him with International Criminal Court and ECOWAS Court. Were they just playing to the gallery during that period? The arrest of the NLC president is designated to intimidate the citizens from protesting, but history has shown that such repressive action will not stand the test of time, as the will of the people will eventually prevail. I advise the government to focus on addressing the demand of Nigerians instead of these repressive tactics, which will be boomerang, eventually. Yusuf, all the way from Wuse too. And I see this one right here, and it says, good morning, Daniel, and your guest. If only the security authority can tell Nigerian people what exactly Ajaero's crime is, we will not complain, but harassing him is not acceptable. Many innocent Nigerians languishing in the custody of DSS and others, some even died without being taken to court. Tekan Bihundu from Nasarawa State. Well, how do you put a cap to all of this, right?
Anyway, you
Let's just, very quickly put a roundup to it.
Yeah, you see.
Yeah.
Like I said, the demand from the labor force or from the Nigerian citizens, the president should begin to look into those things. Of a truth, as a researcher, I have seen perfect blueprint of this administration. When they call for the end bad government protests, I was supposed to lead in my state.
Right.
I declined. The reason I declined, because I saw a perfect blueprint for governance, not for politics,
Right.
for governance by this President Tinubu's administration. It's just that he started on a wrong footnote. If you see what is on the table of the Senate and what they are about to do in the House of Representatives, maybe you have to bring programs to begin to unveil their programs, their visions for Nigeria. You will begin to believe and trust in the administration and the trajectory they are trying to achieve for Nigeria. But nobody builds a national economy from the blood of the citizens. If your citizens are dying because they are hungry, they cannot move, they cannot eat, they cannot go to school, then the power is useless. That is my take. And you have to sit down and redress these things. Forget the egocentric fight with the cabal and look at the ordinary masses. Thank God you have given local government autonomy. Follow it up with local government political autonomy, which means you have drawn to yourself the 774 local government areas in the country, and then you can begin to exert control, governance to reach the common people at the local level. That is a good place to start, Mr. President.
All right, just one very quick one now. Do you think that some of these raids will indeed stop?
The raid has to stop.
Right.
They stamped on human rights. Like I told you, I said there are things, even in my state of Benue, they'll tell you, they will arrest you, they'll pick you, they'll do this. Pick what? This incessant arrest because people want to speak out, or people want to protest against injustice. You can't do that.
All right.
You have to bring justice before peace.
Bring justice before peace is what he says. He's in the person of Right Honorable Daniel Atai, a social political activist and emancipator. Comrade Benson Upa, the head of information and public affairs of the NLC, didn't come through. We would have loved to hear, his own version of, the entire incident. But I want to say a big thank you to each and every one of us. You put a call through. You gave us a message via the WhatsApp portal. You're indeed the best. We appreciate you nonetheless. Tomorrow is yet another time. Do well to stay tuned to Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja. I want to say a big thank you to you too, Right Honorable. This is the much we can take. Udwak Daniel is my name.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
This is Eagles 102.3 News, your number one radio experience you can count on.